welcome to My Worst Date. I'm Cassie.
I'm Keegan.
I'm Christina, and I have brought something to talk to you guys about. I cannot believe that you haven't dived in on this trend, but it's really been giving me life this week, and it's the hashtag women in male fields. If you click on the hashtag, you're going to find so many videos or images of women behaving the way that many men have behaved towards them and giving them a taste of their own toxic medicine.
I'm in love already.
So
I love this already.
It's like, I'll read one of them so that you can kind of get it. It's, let me pull one up here. When I have the irrational fear of being used for money that I don't have, hashtag women in male fields. He was like 35 and single. So I asked him, what's your backup plan if no one marries you? Hashtag women in male fields.
Oh my God. I love it.
Uber driver looked like he was having a rough day. So I told him he'd be much cuter if he just smiled.
Oh, Lord.
Oh my God. Amazing.
He was vulnerable and shared how he was feeling. So I yelled at him and made him feel bad for bringing it up.
You ruined my day.
So I joined Blue Sky this week, which, by the way, the ability to block entire lists of negative people. Like they have like a MAGA list. They have like a whole bunch of different lists, like people that are like problematic or say like offensive shit. You literally can go to the list, go to like settings and just hit block.
Select
and
all.
it blocks all of them.
Oh,
So I have such a peaceful space full of cats,
precious.
books, and all kinds of stuff. So I'm on there just posting like whatever random thoughts come into my head at all times, and also shamelessly plugging the podcast. But my women in male fields, I'll share them with you guys. Going to start acting completely different and distant, and when he asks about it, call him insecure and too needy.
Have you seen the trend of like...
Amazing.
Have you seen the trend where it's like the guy the day before he ghosts you? And he's all like, oh, you look so beautiful today. Our children will have such beautiful eyes. Maybe I could take you here on our honeymoon. And it's like the day before they ghost you.
It's so true. But
It is so true.
I love this hashtag because and I also like hate it, but I'm like, so we've all had to deal with this shit.
Oh yeah. No, listen, I realize that we are, the election has kind of forced us to become like Misandry, the podcast, but like genuinely, like men don't know how to act at all. I went out last night and a guy was hitting on me and in the same breath said I looked like MC Hammer. And I was like, what are you doing? I was like, that's not giving what you think it's giving. It's like you guys have not had to work at this for centuries, and it shows.
Yeah.
It shows.
MC Hammer. What in the fuck?
I don't know. I wasn't even dressed like MC Hammer. I was in skinny jeans.
Even if you
I
are
understand.
Defending this, like who says that? First of all, I was like,
know.
what are you talking about? Do you know who MC Hammer is, sir? You should have been like, who? I don't know who you're talking about. First of all, like I'm too young.
Obviously,
I don't know who you're talking about. Who's that?
I'm baby.
Is she cool?
My God, like genuinely, I just, I mean, and I think that, and we've had these conversations off mic, but I genuinely think that is why so many young men are frustrated, is because like they don't know what to do. For generations, it's just kind of been like, it's a man's world, right? And when that's the case, you don't really have to try very hard.
And to be honest with you, women have been so, I don't want to say supportive, but yes, have been very enabling to this behavior because we're like, oh, poor baby, don't know no better. Poor baby born yesterday. He don't know no.
Or
honey,
it's just like
up. We're done.
It's a survival thing for like a long time. We've had to deal with it because we're so financially dependent on having a man. And
yeah, maybe we could stop saying that so they don't try to take our credit cards away from us. Okay.
Yeah, seriously.
We don't need them to know. Let's keep that under wraps.
But I just, what I don't understand is like, it really isn't a secret to getting a woman, if that's what you want. If you want to be in a relationship with somebody, be nice. Be a nice person.
That's the thing, and that's the point that's been made many, many times, is that there are all of these red pill, manosphere podcasters out there like Andrew Tate or those like fit fab guys, whoever they are. But they're all out here trying to tell men like what they need to do to be an alpha male, to get a woman, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Meanwhile, they're single.
Yeah.
they're not married. And secondly, women will tell you. Like,
yes.
we are telling
We've
you.
been
like,
saying.
Listen to
why
us.
are you listening to these men?
Exactly.
Why are you not listening to the people you are trying to get with? We will tell you what we want. It's not a big... I don't
not a
understand.
mystery.
Like, I don't know why you think that it's that complicated. We're not like out here playing games with you.
No. And that's that has been the tone for so long, because we're not saying what they want to hear. So they're going to people who are going to confirm their bias of like, it's because I'm not alpha male enough. I need to really machoize myself or whatever. It's like, no, literally, just listen to what we're telling you.
Just be nice and like load the dishwasher.
I don't know. Yeah.
That's
behave respectively, respectably. And if you, I just feel like too, like there's like this whole incel community who's just like, well, that work for me. Like, well, you know what? You're not everybody's cup of tea. You're not every single date you go on is going to be the fucking win. We've all
nobody
been
is.
through
Nobody
some
is.
real shitholes.
Yeah,
you know,
you've got Margot Robbie out here being called mid. Like, there is nobody in the world who's for everybody.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Right.
So
Exactly.
look, just because you can't get a 10, like maybe adjust your expectations, buddy. Maybe you're not a 10.
Yeah.
maybe your math ain't mathin'. Okay.
Or people out here that are like wanting a trad life or trad wife. And I'm like, you're not making trad wife money.
Thank you.
Like,
Thank you.
sorry, but like a trad wife comes with a salary.
Yeah. And a trad wife expects you not to sit at home and play video games all day. You're actually going to have to, have a job.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, unrealistic expectations is really a kind of like, it feels like, I don't know if social media just gave people a window into like wanting things that are outside their scope of talent, ability, intelligence. I don't know if that's mean to say,
we also went down a
but
real path of making stupid people famous. The internet gave a platform to a bunch of people who are not talented or intelligent, and we were just like, the Paul brothers, like Logan and Jake Paul are like millionaires.
Right.
It doesn't make sense
because of YouTube,
we have a podcast and we're uniquely unqualified for it, but so listen, I'm not here pointing the fingers at everybody else and not pointing it at myself, but I just think it's really interesting.
They can complain when this podcast makes me a millionaire. Okay. Until then, I'm going to put professional yapper on my resume and nobody can stop me.
Oh my man. I'll tell you what, you know who's giving me life right now? Like we've already like talked about Andrewski on this podcast plenty, but he is, the way he's so done. He's
oh my God, his last TikTok, I was like,
he's like,
damn,
I don't give a fuck.
I didn't see it.
You're upset?
But did it make him even hotter?
Yes.
Smoke show, Keegan. I was
honestly
dying. I was like, fanning myself.
Like, Andrewski daddy? I mean, what? I mean, hot.
Love to see it.
Yeah.
Love to see it.
I love a good takedown. Spicy.
So amazing.
I wonder what his sign is. What do we think?
I don't know. I may be honest with you. He gives me Aries vibes.
All right, so he's off limits for me, at least.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
I
okay.
don't know.
I
I
don't
feel like we
know.
could find out.
I feel like we probably could find out
All right,
somewhere.
I'm gonna you Googly it.
Okay, Cassie, you Google it. Yeah, because I don't know what kind of energy. I also didn't see this latest TikTok that you guys are talking about.
It's spicy. I don't know. He's got like water energy, but he's also
maybe
quirky.
he's a Scorpio.
I also kind of thought maybe Scorpio.
Well, I mean, we are heading into Sagittarius season, so we should FMK some hot Sag.
Okay, hot Sag. Oh wow. Okay. Okay, so we're going into Sagittarius season. We have picked our Sages to FMK. So I picked Lucy Liu. Christina, you picked Theo James. Hot. If you've seen White Lotus season 2, sexy. And Cassie, you picked
Don Cheadle.
Don Cheadle.
Yeah.
I love Don Cheadle so much.
Me too.
Okay.
I do too.
Ooh, okay.
In fact, I like Don Cheadle so much. I think I'm going to marry him.
I love that.
Yeah. And I think this is an easy one for me. I'm going to marry Don Cheadle. I'm going to fuck Theo James. And I'm going to friend Lucy Liu. And you can't tell me what to do.
We might have to just rename the segment altogether. Okay, so I'm gonna. Ooh,
I think this might be a dangerous sign for me. I don't think that there's a W in this for me, marriage wise. But for some reason, Don Cheadle seems like the nicest of the three. So I do think marriage wise. Oh, I don't know though. Theo James is so hot. I would let him be mean to me.
You can't get married based on hotness. You can't do that.
Come on.
I think that
I know I'm not 20 anymore, but come on.
I don't think Sagittarius is a mean sign. I think that they're just, especially when it comes to Capricorns, you're going to always be fighting for like
dominance,
justice, and who's right.
Yeah. You know what? Okay. I know what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to marry Lucy Liu because she seems very strong. She seems like she is going to be the one to tell the waiter to take my mashed potatoes back.
She will.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
I think that I need that in my life. She's going to keep me, she's going to speak up for me. She's going to help me find my voice and be strong in the relationship. Yep. She's also beautiful. She's got great fashion sense. I'm going to marry Lucy Liu.
And notoriously, we love a female Sag.
Oh, yes. Listen, Theo James gives me very strong fuckboy vibes. Okay, like that is a fuck boy energy coming from him. But
he's got a British accent.
He's extremely hot. Like very, very hot. Don Cheadle is gonna take me on the better date. Like if we're going on a date, Don Cheadle is going to wine and dine me. We are going to laugh. We are going to have a great time.
Yes.
But if we're talking like just fucking, just one and done, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, and I never call you again, I'm going to go with Theo James.
Yeah.
I do. Sagittarius men do give me the vibe that they might try to choke you out a little.
Okay. I'm interested in that. From Theo James, especially. Sounds great. Like, that sounds like a good night. Okay. So, I'm going to fuck him. And I'm going to, I'm going to friend Don Cheadle.
You do what you want.
I can't kill him.
It's our podcast.
No.
We don't have to do anything we don't want to.
Honestly, like, look at his face.
Yeah.
He seems sweet.
Wait, you kill that? You're not going to kill that.
No, I couldn't do it.
Kill him with kindness.
Well, I'm going to fucking marry Theo James. And I don't care what you say. It's a terrible choice.
You do what you want to do.
And who cares? It's my life. Yeah. He could.
Okay.
It's going to be chaotic.
I tried. I'll be here for you in the fallout.
Yeah. He's going to
be here.
Cheat on me. It's going to be awful. There's going to be lots of tears.
You're going to be calling us with drama all the time.
Man.
And we're going to be like, girl, please.
We told you.
Leave him.
But I'm like, have you seen what he looks like?
Have you seen his abs? He's got that little V.
He's got that V?
Yeah. In his stomach. Come on.
Have you heard him talk? Oh my God,
Have you
that
seen
accent.
Pornhub? Get out of there.
I'm marrying Theo James, and no one could stop me. And
do what you want, girl.
Yeah. All right.
and you know what?
We will tell you I told you so, though.
I know.
Yes. As you're crying, I will comfort you and also say, well, we did tell you this would happen.
Yeah.
But the truth is that Keegan will say I told you so, and I'll be like, oh my God, I thought he was going to be great. I really thought he'd make a change.
I thought you turned him around.
I thought you could do it. He fooled us all. Keegan's over there like, no, he didn't.
No, he didn't.
All
He
of
never
us.
fooled me. He didn't fool me. I saw it. And then I'm going to fuck Lucy Liu.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's
can't
so
go wrong
pretty.
there.
So
She's
pretty.
gorgeous. Yeah.
I fully remember watching Charlie's Angels years ago and being like, oh, hello. When she was like that dominatrix in that dominatrix outfit. I was like, hi.
Yeah. Awakened something in you.
What's happening here? So, yeah. And then I'm going to friend Don Cheadle. I think he would be an incredible friend.
Oh, I think
How
so
much
too.
fun would it be to hang out with Don Cheadle?
You get this like feeling like Don Cheadle is, and I know there's like not like a new Brat Pack, but like it's given that Ocean's 11 friend group.
Yeah.
You know, like
He's
you're gonna have good whiskey. And,
a good classic vibe. Like I feel like he's got a very good record collection.
Yeah.
You know, and he's got just like
God, I hope he doesn't
good
listen to jazz.
cozy. You know, he might. He does give me, but I feel like he's got a very eclectic music taste. I think he listens to a lot of things. So if jazz isn't, he would never force you to listen to jazz. I don't get those vibes.
Are you
from
kidding?
him.
A Sagittarius wouldn't force me to listen to music that they find superior to other music.
All right. Yeah. No. You're right. You're right. I'm sorry.
I'm right.
You are right.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna have to listen to jazz and find good earphones.
He's gonna try and convince you that you just haven't heard the right one
The
yet.
right-
He's like, you have to hear this
no.
one. You have to hear this one.
Yeah. But have you heard, have you heard this recording of Miles Davis from the 1962 event at the no.
But we
Oh
love
my
him
God.
Anyway.
Hashtag women in male fields.
Oh my God.
Guys.
That is truly universal. Oh my God. Too much.
Well, we
Wow.
do have a couple new patrons this week.
Welcome.
So a big worsty welcome to Kelly Lindsay. Thank you for joining us on Patreon, as well as, and I think Christy has been around for a while. I've seen her commenting on our thing. So Christy Gorzen, welcome.
Hell
a big worsty
yeah.
welcome to you. We are so happy to have you just in time for Christmas. We have not watched Hot Frosty yet, but
Oh,
it's
is-
coming.
It's
next coming.
It's
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
the way. I have
Yeah.
seen so
It's
many things about this movie.
It's like the #1 fucking movie in the world right now.
It's so bonkers. I can't believe
love
we're-
it. I do love it. I feel like they hit across a winning formula, and it's just the junk that we need right now in these trying times.
Sometimes
Exactly.
I think that like something is lying to me, because there are several times where we've talked about something so early on the podcast and then it just exploded. Like, I fully believe that we are responsible for White Claw's incredible growth. We were talking about it so long ago at the very beginning stages, and it pops off. I'm like, we are trendsetters. We're doing something. We're flying under the radar. If you're listening to it, you are also ahead of the curve. Congratulations on your incredible taste. Truly. And if you're a patron, I mean, come on. Like, you're supporting. This is like,
Honestly,
the
you're doing
Leonardo
God's
da
work.
Vinci of podcasts. So you're ahead of the curve.
Oh my God. And on that note, if you are a listener and you would love to support us or give us a nice Christmas gift, we would love to have a 5-star review from you on our Spotify, on our any
Apple
of the platforms you
Podcasts,
listen
any
to,
of the
the Apple
platforms.
Podcast. Yeah. It does help. It really does help. And, tell friends.
Yeah. I don't know how you can give someone a podcast for Christmas, but it makes a great Christmas gift. You can wrap an old iPod where you've downloaded all of the episodes and give it to somebody for Christmas.
It's like a new mixtape.
Yes.
You know what? And maybe I shouldn't say this on mic. It would actually be a great idea to do like a best of episodes and press it into a vinyl.
Oh man.
Oh my God. Like a comedy album or something? Oh my God.
But it's just episodes of My Worst Date. So
insane. We're
Incredible.
off the charts right now.
I know this is a very chaotic episode. I am so sorry.
Yeah. Well, and we got another one to go too after this. So get spicy. You guys want to take 5 and we'll come back with stories?
Please.
Sounds good.
And we're back. Okay. I have the Tainted Love this week, so I will kick us off with stories. Okay. I had recently gotten out of a pretty serious relationship, and after 3 months of wallowing in self-pity, I was ready to have someone take me out and make me feel special. My first mistake was hopping on Tinder,
Yes.
but I had swiped right on a friend of a friend I had met a few times, so I assumed he was a safe bet. He was mad cute and a smooth talker, so I pretty quickly agreed to go out with him without knowing too much about him. Mistake number 2. We went out to eat at a restaurant, and while looking over the menu, he tells me I can get any and everything I want. So I'm thinking, hey, I'm going to be treated right tonight. The waiter comes by, and my date and him start talking like they know each other. Turns out he works there, which, you know what? I think, great. Maybe we'll get a ton of perks.
Great.
Man has a job. All right?
Good.
Hey.
Perfect.
We'll put that in the W column. All right.
Absolutely. Yeah. In this economy,
You're like
amazing.
green flag.
He then says he'll be right back and leaves, going into the kitchen. He comes back 15 minutes later with a food tray of plates and any and everything I wanted. Super excited. I dig in. Woman after my own heart.
Okay.
Being really excited
Great.
by a tray of food. I love it.
So I told Eric, I was like, dude, I need to get out of the house. I need you to book a nice restaurant. We're having a date night. And
Red Lobster. Here we come.
so he found this place, and this is how much I know that this man loves me. He's like, instead of like having it be a surprise, he's like sent it to me so that I could look over the menu and get excited for the foods that I'm going to order days in advance.
He knows you.
I'm sitting here. I'm like, ooh, maybe I'll start with this and then I'll get this. And
Oh my God.
like,
He knows
what
you.
a dork I am. Like,
He knows you.
It reminds me of that tweet I saw that was like, quote, I was born in the wrong generation. Not me. I would die if I can't Google a menu in advance.
yeah.
Oh my God.
That's me.
Absolutely. I feel the exact same way. Okay. He comes back with a food tray of plates, any and everything I wanted. Super excited. I dig in. Just before, the waiter friend comes back and says that some guy is here, so be careful. I'm assuming he's talking about the manager, since he seemed paranoid and suddenly left again. Like 5 minutes later, I hear yelling, and my date comes storming out of the kitchen with the manager following behind, yells some more, points at me, and eventually makes it back to the table. What happened was he was fired right there because he kept stealing food.
Oh my God. So he's just walking back in the kitchen, taking other people's
Taking
order.
plates.
Ooh,
He's like, yeah,
this
I'm with
looks
this.
good.
I'll take
That
that.
looks good. That looks
Is this
good.
man high?
Like the food I was currently eating. I was stunned and mortified because the whole restaurant was staring at us. After like 5 minutes of him ranting, he decides to go back and talk to the manager some more. I got a to-go box, packed up my stolen food, and bailed. I love that she didn't leave the food.
She's like, actually, I'm going to take this with me, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
And again, we'll put that one in the W column.
That's right. You know what? It's not a lost night. It was the most embarrassing and confusing date I have ever been on, and literally scared me from dating for like 2 months. But you know what? You ate well that night.
That's right.
That's right.
So
And had maybe the next night, too.
That's right.
It's truly, I actually don't consider that the worst Tinder date, if I'm honest.
No,
Not at all. Not at all. Honestly, if that's the worst it got for her, like
free food,
good.
Still a win
in this economy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you know the price of eggs? Okay, I have a listener supported story, and he says, note for the reader, I don't know if this is the vibe, but I hope at least whoever is screening these enjoys this story. Which I love. Thank you. Okay. Growing up gay in a small suburban town in the 90s, I didn't really get many opportunities to experiment in high school. I was some degree of intimate with about 10 guys in college, but I still hadn't gone all the way. And so by my early 20s in the 2000s, I felt behind my peers in experience. I developed a really specific itch. I wanted an older, more experienced man to have his way with me.
Yeah.
I was single, still inexperienced enough to feel innocent-ish, and I didn't want to look back years later with regret for not trying something I wanted to explore. And maybe I'd learned a thing or two in the process. Hey, babe, I still want to be the ingenue sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm in my 40s, and I'm still like, I'm so innocent.
I'm just baby.
At the time, I lived in a conservative town, which had something I could only describe as a Republican gay bar. They proudly advertised a veteran discount and had a picture of George W. Bush hanging at the bar.
Oh my
What?
God. Is George W. Bush a secret gay icon?
I hope so, actually, now.
Oh my God. As he says, and I'm cool with all that. Just, it's not typical. It just paints a picture of the scene. I thought this would be the perfect place to get myself taken advantage
That is amazing.
I mean, yes.
You're not wrong.
No, you're not. It was working out. I was the youngest guy in there by at least 15 years. I sat next to an older hottie and made eye contact. First thing out of his mouth, he gruffly asked in a full, gravelly biker voice, "Do you like to get your gas pumped or do you like to pump the gas?"
Oh my God. If a man was ever that forward with me, I think I would pass away.
Dying. Do you like to pump? Wow. Okay.
What? I replied. Instead of explaining, he just repeated, almost angrily, "Do you like to get your gas pumped or do you like to pump the gas?"
I'm scared. Help.
It took me a second, but I put together what he was getting at. I don't know. I haven't done that yet, but I guess I've been more curious about getting my gas pumped. Not the words I'd use. "Be careful. There's a lot of stuff going around here." He glanced around the crowd menacingly. "Use one of these." And he motioned to the bowl of condoms. That took a surprisingly protective and parental turn, I thought. This guy wasn't the vibe and wasn't giving me signals he was really into me, so I moved on. Another older guy was checking me out from across the bar, so I started a conversation. He was probably a hard 55. He was kind of shy.
These men are putting on the hard D for daddy.
Truly.
Oh. Make sure you use your condoms.
Yeah. He was kind of shy, but clearly interested, and there was something charming about him, so I let things flow. We ended up back at his place. I was totally getting what I signed up for. Making out, his mouth tasted like cigarettes. Not I just smoked kind, but like the taste was permanently infused into his lips from decades of smoking.
Oh, Jesus.
All I can think about are those power washing videos where they go into a house where somebody has like smoked inside for 100 years and it's like yellow and you see the before and after. That's what's happening inside your mouth.
Yep.
Oh,
yep.
God.
Yep.
So
I'm going to go brush my teeth
about that
right
next
now.
time you light up. You just become like a 90s PSA school special.
Normally, I'd find this off-putting, but it really fit into the whole dirty old man fantasy I was going for, so it was net neutral. He wasn't as aggressive as I was hoping for. Maybe he was intimidated by our age gap and wanted me to take the lead. Didn't want to be a creep. That was understandable, and maybe things would shift once he got more comfortable and he could show me a thing or two. Eventually, when we were at the point where both of us were fully unclothed, he said, "This is so wonderful. I've always wanted to do something like this, but I've never let myself do it."
No.
I replied,
No.
"Wait, you've never been with a guy before?" "Yeah." My immediate thought was, "Oh no, the dirty old man is me." I suddenly...
This story is incredible.
I love this. It's so good.
I'm loving this.
I suddenly felt responsible for giving this poor, really late bloomer a positive first experience. I gave him a hand job, said he didn't have to worry about me, and politely excused myself, leaving him grinning ear to ear in the euphoria of having just come out of the closet, at least to himself, and me cured of that specific fantasy forever.
Well, there you go.
A few years later, I lost the last dregs of my virginity in a rented cabin with a guy I was in a long-term relationship with. And so that was so much more romantic than my plan.
Good.
So
Good.
all's
That
well
was
that ends well.
surprisingly heartwarming.
I love everything about that story.
Everything about that story was amazing. I want to be a fly on the wall in that bar.
I'm the dirty old man here.
It's me. Oh my God. Incredible.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. Well, I'm going to take us on a different turn. Starts out, I don't know if I'd call this a date necessarily, but the first and only time I met this guy off Bumble. We matched in the middle of a night and talked a bit. He mentioned he owned a vintage clothes store, and I'm really into thrifting and vintage, so it was mostly about that. In the morning, he said he was going to be at a thrift store by me if I wanted to meet up. I didn't see the message until a few hours later, and he said he was already on his way back to his shop, but I could come by there if I wanted to see it / hang out. Turns out he also lived in the shop.
Okay.
Just come to my house. Okay.
And your house is a thrift store?
I won't rag on this too hard. He hadn't been in business a year yet, and I know it can be hard starting out. This is true. We chatted a bit while I helped him hang some shirts he had just got. At some point, he brought up that his favorite movie was the animated Tarzan. He had a vintage poster of it and everything.
Okay, you know what? Listen, before we judge too hard, Phil Collins went really hard on that soundtrack.
Yes.
So I could see how that could get hardwired in your brain.
You have over 100 years of cinematic art to choose from.
Yep.
And the animated twist.
It's not even Emperor's New Groove. Come on. We went next door for food and drinks after a while, and then came back to his house / place of work for some fun. After we finish, we're laying in bed, and he says he's going to turn something on for background noise.
Oh my God. It's Tarzan, isn't it?
He turns on Tarzan and proceeds to recite it word for word.
No.
And sing the songs. Somehow, we end up going for round 2, and the condom comes off inside me. I end up going to the bathroom.
Tarzan?
No. To Tarzan.
No.
I end up
you
going.
have to turn Tarzan off. You cannot fuck to Tarzan.
Phil Collins.
No.
Oh, no.
There's so much.
But wait, it gets better.
Oh, God.
Condom comes outside of me. I end up going to the bathroom, try to fish it out, and finally get it when he's looking around on his sheets to see if it, quote, came off, where it came off. I come back into the room and say, I got it. And this fully grown 32-year-old man asks me if I, quote, peed it out.
Oh my God.
Oh.
I'm so tired.
Between that and some other odd things he said, I decided not to contact him again. Also decided to pump the brakes a bit on random dating app hookups.
Yeah, that's one that you, the next day, you take a real hard look at yourself.
Look at your life mirror. Yeah.
That's a come to Jesus moment if I've ever heard one. Oh my God.
Did you pee it out?
Oh my God.
Sir.
Dude, I saw a TikTok this morning of an older sister berating her brother because her younger brother just moved in with a girlfriend and was bitching about stains on her panties, thinking she didn't wipe properly. And the older sister was like, it's probably period stains. He's like, ew, like TMI, like from her butt. And she's like,
from
everything about that.
Butt.
That man should not be in a relationship.
Sir.
This is, oh my God. Like, ladies, we have to stop. We have to stop dating men.
This poor sister, though, like, has to be like, wait, our own parents didn't do any of this at lessons?
Yeah.
No? Mm-mm.
Yeah. I would be, oh my gosh, I would be I'm like, how do you not know? Like,
because there's no sex education in schools.
True.
That's why.
yeah.
There's no education at all anymore.
So you think we have periods from our butt, from our actual butts? You think periods come from butts? What is wrong with you?
And we pee out condoms.
We pee out condoms
From our
while watching
pee
Tarzan in a thrift store. Like, what the
Yeah, the
fuck?
number of
I believe you
men
mean
who
thrift
think
home.
that they're sticking their dicks into your pee hole. Like, what? What is wrong with you?
Oh my God. We gotta make a
Wow.
TikTok and be like, it's here. Oh my God. Well, you guys want to take 5 and then we'll come back with the Tainted Love?
Sounds good. And we're back. Keegan, tell us your tainted love
Okay, so
that you
I'm
stole
really
from me,
excited.
fair and square.
You tried to steal
did.
it from me, ma'am.
I listen, I'm so glad that you put it in the file that we share.
I am too, because sometimes I forget to do that until like after we're done recording. And so I'm so glad that I put it in there, because we would have had for the first time ever, 2 of us having prepared the same Tainted Love. So I'm glad that didn't happen.
Me too.
But love that we're on this same wavelength. And so is the entire internet, by the way.
Truly. And I'm glad too, because I looked before I did really any deep dive research at all. So I don't know the story. So I'm actually really excited to hear it.
Okay. Exciting. Okay. So, you know what? I'm just going to jump in and we'll take the listeners along for the ride. Christina, did you look at the doc, or do you not know either?
I have no idea.
All righty. Well, we are going to get back in that Wayback Machine that Christina put us in last week. And we are going to start in 17th century Italy.
Ooh.
In 17th century Italy, divorce was impossible for married women. There was no such thing as divorce. Wives had very few legal rights. Their husbands controlled absolutely everything: their finances, their dowries, their movement. Many wives weren't even allowed to go outside of the house without a chaperone. That's the situation we're in. And abused wives could not take their husbands to court, or they could, but usually they weren't penalized. So the courts often prioritized marriage over absolutely everything else. When a woman was raped, and content warning, there's a lot of talk of rape and domestic violence in this story. If she chose to pursue legal action, she would often be encouraged by the courts to marry her rapist. And this is actually a practice that continued into the modern age. I think there was a story even as late as the 70s in Italy where this same thing happened. So this was the case with Artemisia Gentileschi. And she was a Roman teenager who was raped by one of her father's colleagues in 1610. She took her rapist to court, and the court suggested that she marry her rapist, and she respectfully told them to fuck off.
Yeah.
So she ended up winning her case, but because her rapist was friends with the Pope at the time, He escaped any consequences, and her reputation was completely destroyed. She was eventually forced to leave the city. So her story, though, does have somewhat of a happy ending. She became an artist and was actually one of the first women known in history to support herself with her art.
Oh.
So her favorite subject was women murdering their male attackers. She painted multiple versions of the biblical tale of Judith, who beheaded an enemy general. And there's one that's incredibly famous. I will post it with our...
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And it's also stunning.
It is.
Like, she's an incredibly talented painter.
Oh my gosh, I need that print. I'll put it here in the podcast room. Staring at your husband or whatever while you're hanging it up. Just like,
Get a beautiful ornate frame for it. Around the same time, another Roman teenager named Beatrice Cenci, her father was a nobleman. He was a count, to be exact, and also a tremendous piece of shit. He was abusive to all of his children and his wife, Beatrice's stepmother, but was particularly brutal to Beatrice, whom he raped repeatedly. When Beatrice went to the courts for help, they refused due to her father's title. And in 1598, Beatrice and her siblings and stepmother, Lucrezia, all conspired to kill her father. That's how much of a piece of shit this man was. All his kids and his wife were like, we got to take this guy out. So they hit him over the head with a hammer and they tossed his body over a balcony. They tried to make his death look like an accident, but they were quickly found out, and they were all arrested and tortured.
Oof.
Fearing that this murder may encourage other unhappy wives and children of abusive noblemen to murder their abusers, the Pope pushed for Beatrice's public execution along with her stepmother Lucrezia. So knowing the reason for the murder, the common people of Rome rose up in protest.
Nice.
But it was to no avail, and both Beatrice and Lucrezia were beheaded with a small axe before a crowd of onlookers.
Oof.
And Beatrice became a symbol to the people of Rome of resistance against the aristocracy, and a legend persists to this day that on the anniversary of her, or the night before the anniversary of her death, she comes back across the bridge where she was executed carrying her severed head. Anyway.
Where is that movie?
Right?
I know.
Right?
I know. This story isn't really about Beatrice or Lucrezia or Artemisia, but I wanted to set the scene for what life was like for women in Italy in the 17th century. Having no rights or legal recourse against their husbands and fathers who so often became their abusers, women of all ages and socioeconomic backgrounds turned to more drastic methods of securing their freedom. Enter Juliana Tofana. Or Julia Tofana, my bad.
We're going.
I keep calling her Juliana. I kept typing that as well. But Julia.
It's because it's the G-I-U.
Yeah.
Aqua Tofana.
Aqua Tofana. Yeah, and you may have seen Bailey Sarian. I think this was one of the first stories that she told in her like Murder Makeup Monday series that really took off. So I do recommend you watch her video just because she's funny. I like her. Okay. Yeah. Julia Tofana was a female apothecary who would go down in history for creating a ring of women poisoners who would sell their tinctures as cosmetics in an effort to free women from their abusive marriages. So despite the fact that Aqua Tofana, the healing oil that was sold, would become synonymous with Julia Tofana's name, it's believed that she did not actually come up with the recipe. Many cosmetics at the time contained deadly ingredients such as arsenic and lead, which were used as skin lightening agents, and belladonna, which was dropped into the eye to dilate the pupils, which was thought to be a more enticing
Can you imagine?
Look.
Wild.
Get ready with me while I poison my skin.
Right, 100%. They said I read that at the end of her life, Queen Elizabeth I looked like crazy because of the amount of lead that she had been putting on her face for all of those years. It was just like peeling away.
Oh my God, monster.
But typically, the amount of arsenic, lead, and belladonna in these products was fairly low. However, in large enough doses, of course, they could kill. And it was also fairly odorless and tasteless. Not a lot is known about Giulia's early life, but it is suspected that her birth name was Giulia Mangiardi. The inventor of Aqua Tofana was thought to be a woman named Tofania Diamo, which I put in here. I said, claiming Tofania as the name to my next cat. Tofania.
Ooh, perfect. Yeah.
And Tofania Diamo was an apothecary that lived in Sicily. And in 1966, no, ma'am. 1633.
Different
time. In 1633, she was convicted and executed for poisoning her husband. Giulia is suspected to have been Tofania's daughter, and after the execution of her mother, she fled to Rome, where she changed her last name to Tofana in honor of her mother and set up shop as an apothecary and cosmetics merchant.
My God, what a cool... I want to be an apothecary.
Right? I know. Like, genuinely, it is one of my dreams. If I ever own a home, I want to have like an herb garden, a tea garden. Yeah. I want to grow my own things and have my own little witchy life.
Tinctures, potions.
Use that mortar and pestle. While in Rome, Giulia is said to have recruited a ring of 6 other women, including her own daughter, Gerolama Spara, to whom I'm doing my best with these names, by the way.
Love it. I struggled through the French ones last week, so I feel you. I feel you hard.
And she taught them all the recipe. Initially, she sold Aqua Tofana in powder form, disguised as a cosmetic. But as she perfected the recipe, she began to sell it in liquid form under the label Manna of St. Nicholas of Bari. And it was like a special healing ointment. And it could be put, it looked like it blended in with stuff that was on their, not only their cosmetic counters, but also just like, it looked like a
perfume or something, or...
Yeah. Yes. Okay. The women were given very specific instructions on how the tonic should be used to ensure an inconspicuous death. They would administer several drops into their husband or father's food or drink. After the first dose, they would start to feel a little sick, but the illness would mimic the symptoms of other common illnesses like the flu or the common cold. By the third dose, they would begin to fall very sick, usually vomiting, diarrhea, dehydration, and a burning sensation in the stomach. And by the fourth dose, they would almost always die. So you could also time this out pretty well. The fact that the poison was slow acting was actually a benefit for the women involved. Not only did it provide proof that the injured party had been sick for a long time. You're like, he's been struggling with this illness for a long time. Yeah. It just progressively gotten worse. I don't know.
Something's going around.
Also,
something. Must have caught
Weird. It was also the Renaissance, so it's just like you could die from
like toothache. Yeah.
Yeah. But also the people of Rome were very highly religious at this time, and it made the women feel better that the men, they knew they were sick, they knew they were dying, so it gave them time to repent their sins before they died, because you couldn't get into heaven if you didn't repent your sins. So the women were like, whew, well, that's a weight off my conscience, Giulia's cosmetic counter did sell legit makeup items as well, and attracted women who were genuinely interested in just buying like regular run-of-the-mill cosmetics. But word quickly spread among women in abusive situations that there may be a solution to their problems in this Aqua Tofana tincture. The women in Giulia's ring were very, very careful and selective. Obviously, this is very risky for everybody involved. Yeah. So they were very selective about who they let in on the secret, and it was obviously, highly dangerous, not only for themselves, but also for their clientele list. But because these were ingredients that were used to make cosmetics already, and they were already deadly, she batted away all these rumors that anything could be happening. She's like, I need this arsenic.
Yeah.
Hello. It's what we put on our face.
Face powder. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever she was doing, it seemed to be working because Julia got away with this for decades. And that, my friends, is the power of girl code.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Nobody revealed this secret. They also allegedly coached the women on how to behave when their husbands started to fall ill. So when they would call the medical men in to tend to their husbands, they were told to, like, you need to act anxious, you need to act distressed, so that a third party could attest to their state of mind if any issues were or if anyone got suspicious later on. Julia also instructed the women on how to act after their husbands died. Obviously acting sad and stressed was obvious, but she also told them to demand a post-mortem examination because she knew that they weren't going to find anything. And then if you demanded it, then, you wouldn't be suspicious. So men all over southern Italy were just dying left, right, center. And, does seem nuts, but again,
yeah, it's going around.
It's the Renaissance.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're actually allowed to leave the house. So they must have picked something up outside.
Yeah.
That's right. And meanwhile, happy widows all over the place. So like I said, this goes on for quite a while and everything is going smoothly. And all of the women are keeping their mouth shut and the vetting process is working, et cetera, et cetera. Now, okay, before I go into the next part of this story, I do want to also emphasize with stories this old, they do fall into like legend territory.
Yeah.
And the facts become pretty murky. So I am just going to tell you what I think is the most interesting story.
Okay. All right.
Because obviously history is written by men at this time who had a vested interest in bending the narrative. So anyway, one day in 1650, a woman comes in looking for Aqua Tofana. Julia does her due diligence. She asks for her references. She goes to the person who referred her. She's like, is she on the up and up? That woman is like, yes, she's on the up and up. Her husband's a piece of shit. Move forward. Proceed.
Move forward.
Yeah. So sometime not long after that, the woman adds Aqua Tofana to her husband's soup for dinner that night. And as he goes to eat the soup, she has a sudden change of heart and she yells at him to not eat the soup. She's freaking out. She's like, don't eat that. Don't eat that. And he's naturally suspicious. He's like, well, why don't you want me to eat the soup? And she's like, I don't want to tell you why I don't want you to eat the soup. And so he beats her until she admits that she poisoned it. He then drags her to the authorities in Rome, who torture her until she finally admits where she got the poison from. So after hearing through the grapevine that one of her clients has been taken in for questioning, Julia packs her shit and up and leaves. She's like, I know what's coming next. So she takes sanctuary in a church where she decides to hole up until she can get out of town. The people at the church grant her sanctuary. By now, rumors have begun to spread about Julia. And of course, it's like, this is the 1600s. So this woman is very scary to the men of Rome. And there are rumors that Julia and her merry band of poisoners have poisoned the water supply in Rome. So like everyone's just frothing at the mouth. And Rome is going into a fervor. So they're incensed. They're like, we need to find this bitch. So they find her, they track her to the church, they demand that she be released. And at first the church is like, we granted her sanctuary. We can't just like release her to you guys. And they're like, well, we'll burn this church to the ground.
Jesus.
Like, okay, well, we can't have that. So they turn Julia over and she's taken into custody and tortured along with her daughter until they reveal the names of their accomplices and even the names of some of their clients. During her torture, Julia confesses to helping assist in the deaths of roughly 600 men between the years of 1633 and 1651.
Metal.
In July of 1659, Julia was executed alongside her daughter and 3 of the women in her poisoning ring. It's said that the authorities then took Julia's body and threw it over the wall into the courtyard of the church that had offered her sanctuary. So just one fuck you to that church.
Wow.
Some of the clients that were named by Julia tried to claim that their Aqua Tofana was for cosmetic purposes only, and they had no idea about the poisoning aspect. They're like, I just put it on my face at night. Still, many of the women were executed, with some of them being bricked into the dungeons of the Palace of Holy Office.
Oh my God.
That's gotta be the worst.
God.
I mean, they got real creative in the Middle Ages and Renaissance in ways to torture people, but being bricked into a building has gotta be top 3.
How do people think of this stuff? That's really sick. That's
a lot of sadists out there.
Yeah.
Now, it should be said that, again, like I said, these reports written by men have to kind of be taken with a grain of salt, also very old. Some have said that Julia was actually never caught or executed and that she died peacefully in her sleep, and then her daughter took over her business after she died. And some believe that the number of 600 victims was exaggerated by Julia during her torture because it's what authorities wanted her to say. And some believe that Julia was innocent altogether, and because there was a literal witch hunt all throughout Europe at this time, that Julia, being a business owner, a single woman, and an apothecary was enough for them to just make up shit.
Yeah. Yeah, you didn't have to do too much.
No. Either way, her legend lives on, and some people might paint her as a villain, but she has become a symbol of freedom for women and kind of a patron saint of women in abusive situations. Because she did, if reports are to be believed, yes, she did have a hand in the deaths of 600 men, but she probably saved the lives of a good number of women in that process.
Yeah.
So that is the story of Julia Tofana and her band of women poisoners.
Well, applause.
Yes, absolutely. Dude. Yeah, I've thought about doing Aqua Tofana for a while, but like you said, there's just so much around it that it's like, it's legend. You also don't know if these men who wrote about it later were trying to have some sort of agenda or, that 100%. Kind of thing. So, yeah, no.
But women are taking the narrative back on Julia Tofana.
Mm-hmm. No, that would be fun to start a makeup line and literally just call it Aqua Tofana, but have it be a real makeup line.
I want to say, I think Bailey Sarian maybe released a perfume. I think she might have, or collaborated with somebody.
That's so smart.
Yeah.
That's so fun. Oh my gosh. Whew. Well, what are you guys
want to come over to my house for some Aqua Tofana tonight? Date night. Aqua Tofana is on the menu. Oh no.
I'm not really watching a lot of new stuff right now, but I did want to talk about Cassie recommended this book to me, and I don't know why. I think it's because I had started this author's other book, which now I kind of want to revisit. Maybe I was trying to, she wrote Luckiest Girl Alive, and I started that book and for whatever reason couldn't get into it at the time. So I was dragging my feet on this one. But I'm so glad that I finally gave in and I'm listening to it. I'm almost done with it. But it's Bright Young Women.
Oh, so good.
Who wrote it? Let me look that up really quick.
I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know we were talking earlier about the people who are reading it. And one of the readers in the audiobook is Sutton Foster.
Sutton Foster. Yeah.
So
there's
great.
Two readers.
Yeah.
It's by Jessica Knoll.
That's right.
And it is so good. The way that this book, it's basically telling the story of Ted Bundy from the victim's perspective. And they never say his name. Throughout the entire book, they call him the defendant. They're really prioritizing the perspective of what it was like to be victims at this time, be women at this time. It will infuriate you, but it is so well done. And they do take actual events and they do use the names of actual victims, but then these two perspectives are fictional characters. But it's so well done. It's so well done. And it really, like, the commentary about our obsession with true crime and serial killers and the way that we consume it, and we decenter victims so often in these stories. It's just, it honestly, it made me think about it, because I've been consuming a lot of true crime lately. Mm-hmm. And of course we have a fascination with people whose brains work so differently from us. I think that's why so many of us are fascinated by serial killers. But we do have to remember that they are literal monsters who have hurt so many people. And I can't imagine, I never really thought about what that must have been like for this perspective is like one of the sorority girls who survived the attack. And in the book, she's describing what it was like to go to court and see women fawning over the defendant.
Wild.
And like what that must have felt like. And have people everywhere, you know, calling him fascinating, having to sit in the court while the judge calls him, you know, like compadre and young man and like all of these things whenever you know what he did to your friends.
Oh, God.
It's so, it's really, really well done. Thank you, Cassie, for recommending it. Definitely recommend the audiobook.
Yeah, I recommend the audio as well. It's great. The narrators do such a good job of like going back and forth between the two characters. And like the second character is also a friend of a victim. And I think at this point they weren't able to secure him as the person who had done this crime. And
the second character is the actual victim, but the friend is another character in the book.
That's right. And so it's her friend trying to prove that it was this defendant that had done this horrible thing to her friend. And because nobody had ever found her body, that was hard to like, it was just, it's very layered. It's very nuanced, but it's so well told and well written that, I highly recommend it. It was a good book. It sticks with you for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I'm going to check it out. I've been doing more audiobooks lately, especially since I've been having to drive so much.
Perfect for a car. Yep.
Yeah.
It will fill you with rage, though. I do want to say that. Yep. Like, man, there are parts in it where I'm just like,
yes. Yeah.
Well, I am finally watching the second season of Rings of Power because I'm a huge nerd and I like nerdy stuff.
Do you like it?
I love Lord of the Rings. I really do.
I do too.
I do think this second season is better than the first, for sure. But it's still, I would give it like a 7 out of 10.
Okay. I had such high hopes for it and I gave up like halfway through the first season.
Oh,
it just wasn't hitting, you know. I don't even really know what it was, but we are so capable of having really good fantasy now. Like we have the technology.
Yeah. The second season is way better than the first. I struggled to make it to the end. I didn't really like the first any of the episodes until the very last one, and then I was like, oh, okay, this could be kind of cool.
I can be convinced to get back into it. All right.
But I definitely I'm liking the second one better, but I'm also like, is that because I have context, because I had to sit through the whole, like, there's just too many storylines. I think it's doing too much. Do you know what I mean? Where I'm
That's
just like,
how I felt. Yeah, I was like, can we focus for 1 second?
Yeah. I don't really care that much about Numenor. Like, I get it's important, but you need to just put all that to the side. And then the halfling plot, no thank you.
Oh my God, a snooze.
Serious. Anyways, but yeah, I like it. And if there's any other like fantasy, like high fantasy shows I should be checking out, that's just kind of in the mood for it. I think because it's starting to get cold. Yeah, I want to drink out of a goblet.
It's
maybe
very
much
wine. Goblet season. Yeah. I haven't watched anything that fun. I watched By Now, which is that'll make you want to set everything on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is.
You're brave. I really can't. Like
I feel that way sometimes about certain things. And I literally was like, it's all the stuff that you know. And honestly, we should be faced with, and we should be absolutely confronted with, because it's obnoxious what we do. Our spending behavior and our habits have literally led us to a untenable situation in which we can't maintain. And this idea that we have of what waste is and what it looks like isn't a reality for most people who live in a, first world country or, life. We put our stuff into a recycling bin and thoughts and prayers, and the reality of it is that it ends up on the shore of Ghana, and these microplastics that end up, it's sick. And honestly, it just makes me, it's funny because my husband and I were talking about one of the best things that I really was always so proud of was doing the Rent the Runway, because I was like, well, I'm not purchasing additional clothes to contribute any further to like having something that eventually will become waste in our house. Right. But at the same time, I just, we are so beholden to these companies that make things that are so disposable. Right. Mm-hmm. From everything from computers to, any electronics we have, they make them with a lifespan. I will tell you, there's a, spoiler alert if you're going to watch it, but there's like this part where they talk about like the light bulb and how there's certain, like on Broadway, there's like light bulbs that have been there since they made light bulbs, because light bulbs weren't intended to burn out after a period of time. They were meant to have a lifelong span of,
but they need you to buy new light bulbs.
But they need you to buy new light bulbs because
our over-consumerism culture, over-consumption culture that we have is rough. Yeah. Like it is rough to face because, it's so ingrained in the way that we live.
Yeah. I know. I mean, I just bought something from TikTok Shop to like zap skin tags, and I'm like, what am I fucking doing? Like, why am I getting this?
Do you have that many
why
skin
am I
tags?
buying this?
You're like one skin tag and you're like, I gotta get it.
It's because we don't have enough like natural dopamine and serotonin anymore.
This is true.
Because we don't leave our houses. So like buying things is a very quick way to make yourself feel better. I mean, genuinely, like there's a reason why people get addicted to shopping, and it's because there is a rush of like good feelings when you get something new, and that like expectation feeling of something being delivered and all of that stuff. And everything about the way we live now is set up for us to consume.
Instant gratification.
It is.
It's instant gratification. Yeah. And it really does boil down to, and I mean, I'm not better than anybody. I'm definitely not saying I'm better than anybody when it comes to that kind of stuff too, because I also feel that same dopamine hit when I'm like, oh man, I really need this thing for this one thing for skin tags or whatever, oh, I need the thing that shaves fuzz off of my sweaters. And I'm just gonna go onto Amazon and order it. It's just such
I've been eyeing that lint remover for a while. I in
lint
TikTok
shaver?
Shop.
Mm-hmm. Oh my god, yeah, dude, TikTok Shop is like that shit is dangerous because it's like, we know you, bitch. Like we get your algorithm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We know your old ass has a skin tag somewhere.
They also
this shit is $30, and I'm like,
they're so good at making the ads look like just content too. Sometimes you're just like, oh, you fuckers, you got me. You know.
Dude, the latest thing I've seen is like a spray that you put on your face that shows your hair, and it comes with a dermaplaner. And I'm like,
I will fuck up my skin doing that shit.
Dude,
I should not. Don't show me where it is, because I will rip my skin off.
Neither of you ladies, you guys both have the most sensitive skin that scars too easily. Yeah. Neither of you should be doing any dermaplaning or any of that nonsense, especially not on your own.
It makes me break out. I've dermaplaned my face before, and it made me break out. I did learn my lesson, but man, don't let me see it. That spray would be like a nightmare.
This is gonna be the next thing that pops up on your.
I've seen it. And I'm like, do I have a beard and I just don't know
it? Girl. If you have to have a spray that shows you where it's at, then no one else can see it. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Seriously.
No.
Well,
Oh
if you have something that we should purchase from the TikTok shop,
No. Don't tell us.
Listen, it's not
Don't
consuming.
tell us.
Do
Keep
not
it to
tell me.
yourself.
if you have a terrible date story, if you just want to reach out and say hello, go to our one-stop shop of a website. It's myworstdatepodcast.com, and we love you so much. Cheers.